Hey, what's going on, everybody? I'm your host, Cameron, and today I am going to be showing you guys how to do an advanced multiple night system for your Five Nights at Freddy's fan game. So, we already discussed a multiple night system in the past, but that old tutorial is, it's good and it works like very well because you can categorize all your frames and stuff. But if any of you out there are an experienced game coder or an experienced Clickteam coder, you know that this really isn't a good way to set up your multiple nights because you can easily sum up all of your night 1, 2, 3 custom nights. You can sum it all up into one night and just call it gameplay. And then you can make it seem like it's multiple nights with your I, and you can kind of shift around it and stuff like that. And that is exactly what I'm going to be showing you guys how to do in today's episode. Now, this is going to either be one of the hardest tutorials or one of the easiest tutorials, all depending. I'm still kind of in between. I'm not sure if it's going to be too easy or too hard, but I can definitely tell you that this is going to be the most game altering tutorial because you are going to be getting rid of most of these frames and putting them all into one, which guys should have done already. Like you should have already put all your stuff into night 5 or custom night, but that's besides the point. So also I want to just say that this microphone to the left, I'm kind of in a different position, so if you guys can hear like an echo or something, I apologize. I don't mean to make it sound like an echo or anything, but the way I kind of position my desk, it's not near any like panels or whatever, so it's gonna get echoey if I talk too loud. I'm sure of it. So let's discuss this. So obviously, like I said before, this is going to be a very, very game altering tutorial. All your frames are really going to be stored into one, except for like obviously like your 6 a.m. extras menu, custom night, all that. Your main gameplay though is going to be all stored into one frame. Now we're not going to be making a new frame and adding all that in because technically we already have that. Like for example, my custom night already has all of my characters. It has all the mechanics that I need. So I'm just going to use my night custom. Obviously for you guys, it might be like a night 5 with all your characters, or like a night 4 or something. Mine's custom night though. So, before we do anything with this, there are a couple things we need to do. For one, we are going to be making a copy to our game file, because I don't want to do this in our main game file, because if you do this in your main game file and it's really buggy for you guys and you're just really not a fan of it, and you save it, you're not going back to that original like categorized, organized version of your game. So that's why we're going to be making a copy, and we're going to be editing the copied version to have all of your frames in one night, basically. And of course, we do need to open our MMF applications because we are going to be messing around with I a lot. So I'm going to go over, and I'm actually going to do that first. I'm going to access the I first. So just type in run, and then type in %@, all lowercase, press OK. Scroll down to you see MMF applications, and then go over to your Five Nights at Freddy's file, or whatever you called your game file. So I have my save file right here. I'm not going to be messing with this right now, but it will be right here. So just kind of minimize out of that. And now we're also going to open another folder. We're going to go right click, and we're going to go folder. Or actually, no, we're going to go right click and we're going to go to documents. So we're going to go to our documents. We're going to scroll down until you see your game file name. So here is my Five Nights at Freddy's MFA file right here. And I should have prefaced this to you. If it's not in your documents or anything, you might have just put it somewhere else. So just be sure to go find your MFA file somewhere. I only went to documents because my documents is where I store my game file. So I have my Five Nights at Freddy's game file right here. But what we're going to do is, once you find your game file, we're just going to go right click. We're going to copy this, or you can press Control C, and then press Control V, or just go right click and paste it. Where's paste? Paste? Okay, I guess just go Control V. And as you can see at the bottom, we have Five Nights at Freddy's copy. It already did it for us. We already have a copy. So what this does is this makes two game files with all the same stuff in it. But if I mess around with one game file, it won't mess around with the other. So, well, actually, the only thing that I really mess around with is like the INI, because they're both set to the same INI in both game files. But that's not a big issue because we can always just easily change that back. But anyway, we're gonna go back to our Clickteam Fusion, and we're gonna close our Five Nights at Freddy's file, and then we're gonna go Open Application, and we will go to our copy, which is called Five Nights at Freddy's copy, or whatever your game file is called. And then press open, and there we go. So it's at the top, it still says Five Nights at Freddy's, and it still looks all the same, but we did insert a new game file, basically. So we have all of our stuff right here, which is very good. So the next step is we want to take your frame, your night frame that has the most stuff in it. I mean, the most animatronics, the most mechanics, all that. And in this case, it is going to be night custom because all my stuff is in this custom night, including some counters up here. So once you have your one frame where everything's in it and you know you want to use the frame with everything in it, you have to delete all your other night frames. You want to go night 1? Nope. Bye-bye. Night 2? Bye-bye. Night 3? See ya. Night 4? See you later. And night 5? Goodbye. Yes. And then, well, obviously mine is called Night Custom, and obviously this isn't a custom night anymore. So I'm just gonna go right click, and I'm gonna rename it to Gameplay, because it is the main gameplay now. So, and then I'm gonna move it up here as well. Okay, that's a lot better. So, now that we have all of our stuff, we have our gameplay, we have our loading, it's a lot more closed, if you know what I mean. It's a lot more stationary, it's in one frame, and your game file should also be shorter as well. So it might be good if you want to release it on Game Jolt, and then you're like, what do I do? You know, it's so big, I don't want it to be that big. Pause, you know. Anyway, the next step we're going to do is we're going to go over to loading, and we're going to go up to Event Editor, and obviously there are some things we need to do here because we're no longer going to different frames, because as you can see we have jump to frame, deleted frame, please replace action. So that means that the frames that we were going to use originally are gone. They're all gone. Can't use them no more. And of course, since we're all going to the same place, that means all you gotta do is get rid of your night verifications over here on timer event jump to frame, and then only have one on timer event to frame in action, which in my case I'm going to use the top one, and of course I'm going to get rid of that one too, and on timer event jump to frame. Then we want to go jump to frame, delete a frame, and we want to go right click, edit it, and it's going to take us to our gameplay now, because it's all going to one frame, even though it's multiple frames, if you know what I mean. And of course, we want to keep all this stuff too, like this displays like what night we're going to and stuff like that. And obviously, we're going to night 1, so good. That's all we want. Now it's the time that we actually go to gameplay and we really get down on some stuff. So obviously, what we want to do is we want to make it so that it shows that it's multiple nights, even though it's in one night. We're making an illusion to make it seem like it's multiple nights, even though it's in one frame, but it's showing multiple nights. You get what I mean. So, and the easiest way to do this is over here by your current night string. So obviously in your current night string, mine is set to custom because I use my custom night because it has everything in it, like I said a million times. And I want to use this to display what night we're on. And obviously, the only paragraph we have is custom. But, of course, we need to have multiple paragraphs for the rest of our nights. And I'm going to move custom down here. And then in paragraph 1, I'm just going to type in night 1, paragraph 2, night 2, paragraph 3, paragraph 3, night 3, paragraph 4, night 4, and night 5, night 5. Easy. And of course, after you have that, all we're going to do is we're going to go back up to the event editor, and we're going to be going right click, insert, a group of events, and we're going to title this frame functions, I guess. I don't know. So we're going to insert frame functions. And what we're going to do is we're going to go start a frame. New condition, storyboard controls, start a frame. And then we're going to go right click, insert, night verification, compare the constant value when it is set to 1, which means you are on night 1 upon loading your gameplay frame. And of course, when this happens, you want to go over to your night verification counter, right click, set counter to 1. And then go over to your INI, right click, set value of item, night to 1. And we already have code in the frame that says, hey, set your night to night 6, because obviously this is my custom night, and my custom night was my 6th night. So I have an INI up above that shows that, hey, you're on night 6. We will be getting rid of that, of course, later on in the tutorial, but for now, we're just going to get this stuff down. And of course, what we want to do is, we will then want to copy and paste this, and instead, change the night verification counter to 2. When it's set to 2, then we want to go night verification counter, right click, edit, set counter to 2. And then go over to your INI, right click, edit, enter value name, night to 2. And then we just want to do that for all of our nights. So we want to do night verification equals 3, set counter to 3, set value night to 3. Right, I got that, okay. Then we're going to copy it again, change this one to 4. Set counter to 4. Set value item night to 4. Okay, I don't know why it's not fast enough for me. And then 5. And we want to set counter to night 5. Or this counter to night 5. And then set the INI of night to 5. And then we're going to do it one more time, but this time with 6. And the thing about 6 is, we want to make it so that it is greater or equal than 6. And then, when it's greater or equal than 6, then of course, set the counter to 6. And then, set value, item, night to 6. There we go. And of course, the next step, like I said before, is we're going to scroll up to your starter frame, way up here. I don't exactly remember where we had it, but it should be in your left light event. And as you can see right here in my starter frame, we have all this stuff which connects the INI and the counter, which is good. But if you can see, as you can see at the top, it says set value 6 to item night and set counter to 6. Well, we don't want those because it all depends on what night you're on. It shows kind of what night you're on. If we load up the frame, it's automatically going to set at 6, and we don't want that. So we're going to go over to night verification, right click, delete, set counter to 6. Then go over to your INI, right click, delete, set value 6 to item 9. Perfect. Those are gone. And now, if we actually run the frame, it should say night 1 at the top. Yep, it says night 1 at the very top. Now, if it doesn't for you, then it probably just messed up somewhere. Like if we go down here, I don't believe we actually set up the paragraphs. So maybe it's just potluck. Maybe it's just potluck. But obviously, because if there's no code going into the current night, then it's automatically going to set it to whatever's the lowest or the highest. I did forget to do that. But of course, at the starter frame and the night verification is equal to 1, we want to go over to current night, right click, set paragraph to night 1. And then obviously just do this for the rest of your nights. So set night 2 to 2. Or set paragraph 2 to night 2. Set paragraph 3 to night 3. And then of course do this. Now I am going because 1, I tutorial to go on for so long, and 2, you know, if you guys have been following along with this series up to this point, you should already kind of know what to do now. I'm not really going to be holding your hand as much, so just want to let that out there, because we only have 2 tutorials left, so I'm not really going to be going that fast, except for sound. Sound is the next tutorial, and I'll obviously go a little slower for that. But if you have all of this for all of your nights, then it should really work in this case. Now, obviously, it's going to say night 1. I mean, I bet if it was set to like 6, it would be set to night 1 anyway. But we have that working now. And to prove that this works, we're going to go back to our MMF applications, or no, we're going to go back to our notepad that we had open. We don't have to open that again. I'm just going to set night 2, 3. How about that? And then I'm just going to close this. I want to save it. And then I'm going to go back into it. And there we go. Night 3. Cool. So that's working as well. And of course, if you actually load up the frame and then you press continue, it takes you to the loading and it says night 3. So that's working as well. Now, the next thing we want to do is we want to really get into the meat of this actual tutorial. We want to get to the meat of the tutorial, the real shit we've been talking about, the animatronics activating on nights they're supposed to activate, stuff like that. So that's what we're going to be talking about right now. So we're going to be going up, and I'm going to be kind of trying to discuss this in the easiest way possible, but it is a little confusing in, you know, some ways. So we're just going to go up to, like, who should we go up to? Bonnie. We're going to go up to Bonnie. So, as you can see, Bonnie is, you know, he's going to activate kind of automatically whenever he wants to, because at the start of the frame, there's no limitations to say he can't do anything. So at the start of the frame, he's automatically going to set his where is it? He's gonna automatically set his countdown counter to 100, and he's gonna set his location counter to 0. But let's say I wanted Bonnie to only activate on night 1, you know? Or no. What if I only wanted Bonnie to activate on night 2 and above? Well, we could go right click, insert, night verification, give it the counter value. When it is greater or equal than 2. So basically, I only want him to activate on night 2, so he's going to activate on night 2. Now, I did kind of notice as well that this is with the Chica code, so if you want, you know, your Chica code to obviously be separated, then just separate your Chica code with some starter frame events as well. But anyway, let's get back to it. So, as you can see, basically what this is telling us is, start of the frame, when you're on night 2 or above, Bonnie's countdown counter is going to be set to 100, and Bonnie's location counter is going to be set to 0. Correct? That's what we want. But that's only on night 2 and above. So if I actually go back to my MMF applications and I open up my notepad and I set the night to 1, there's going to be an issue with this. And then you save that, and then you run the frame. Bonnie's jump scare will be playing automatically, along with Chica's, because Chica's code is in with Bonnie's code. But basically, the jump scare is going to be automatically playing. And if we were running the application, this would automatically take us to a game over because, you know, whenever you get jump scared, it takes you to a game over. And obviously, we don't want that because that is a big, big issue. But there's a really easy way to fix this. A very easy way to fix this is to grab your starter frame whenever your night verification is greater or equal than 2, copy and paste it, and then change them so that it is instead lower than 2, which is pretty much just night 1, but lower than 2. And now it should be working now. It shouldn't be doing all of that. And actually, you really don't need a starter frame technically, but it's good because if you do, then if you don't, then your jump scare is going to be playing and then you're going to be automatically sent to the game over. But really, you're not really changing anything because you're going to be it's going to be automatically working in a way where if it's above whenever they activate, then they're just going to activate anyway and then just keep roaming whenever they're activating. So what I mean by this is, you see this code where it says every R random 500 to 600, global value is equal to 1, which is his custom night level, because remember, this is a part of the custom night, and when his location is lower than 4. Well, if I make it so that this is greater than 2, greater or equal than 2, that means he's only going to be doing this if the INI is greater or above 2. Or, no, equal or greater than above 2. So, basically, he will only move whenever it's night 2 or above. That's pretty much what I've been trying to say. And obviously, if you're happy with this, you know, you only want your animatronics to activate on a certain night, then you want to drag this down to all of your different code and stuff, all of your basically every random, you know, numbers. just drag down these greater or equal than night verification 2. And obviously because I did do the custom night tutorial, I added all this for Bonnie. Which if you did do, it's gonna be a little tedious, but you know, if you don't have it, then you might only do this once. So I don't know. So basically, I'm gonna do that for only greater than 2. And of course, if you actually run the frame, Bonnie will not move at all. He won't, because it's only night 1. And he has no capability of actually moving. Even though this code up here says, oh, you know, start a frame, when it's lower than 2, his counter will be set to 100, and his location will be set to 0, he can't move. You wanna know why? Because he can only move whenever it is night 2 or above. Simple as that. That's why we don't want to set like the starter frame counter to 0, because he will move then. He has every ample opportunity to move then, because technically at that point, you know, obviously if it's lower or equal than 0, then his location count is going to add to 1, so you don't want to do that. As you can see, he's right there, and he's not going to move at all, which is great. Now, the thing about this too is, if you have characters, oh, forgot the puppet was there. If you have characters like Foxy, you know, and you're like, man, I really want to make it so that you can't see him at all on the cameras if he's not active, or you can't go to his camera at all. Well, there's a really easy way to fix this as well. So we can go like start a frame, night verification is lower than 2, which is when he's not active. We want to go over to our Bonnie location, and you can just set the counter. You can edit it to like 999, because obviously we don't have a code set for that. And if you actually run the frame, he's not going to be there because we have no code for whenever he's actually there. So that's for characters like, you know, Foxy, or characters that basically, if you have like lore to your game, you can make it so it's like, yeah, we found this animatronic in the back and now he's here, you know, stuff like that. You could really implement that. Or, you know, if you want like a FNaF 1 Freddy situation where it's just like, you know, I want him there, he's gonna be on stage, he won't ever move, because he's not on night 3 or anything, but he will be there. You could do that as well. And I am going to show this a couple more times with a couple more characters, because all of my characters are a little different. But I won't actually be going through and discussing all the animatronic AI, because we do actually have to do more stuff outside of that, I believe. So let's just go over to like Springtrap AI. Springtrap is a good example of this. So we could do the same thing that we did with Bonnie. Start a frame, right click, insert. We're gonna go over to night verification, compare the constant value, and let's say let's just say greater or equal than 3. So he can only activate on night 3 or above, which is what we want. And additionally, we also think for lower, it's just kind of as a precaution, nothing too major. So we can just go Control C, Control V, and then change this top one so that the night verification is lower than 3. So when it's lower than 3, then you can't do anything. And we could say, we could set his countdown counter for the beginning of the night when his AI is lower than equal than 3 to right click, edit 33 if we want to, you know, or 333, you know, the countdown infinite, or you can make the location infinite, which is the same thing I've taught over with Bonnie. So, you know, if it's lower than 3 and you don't want Springtrap there at all, if you actually go into it, I don't remember what night we're on. We're on night 1. So, you know, Springtrap is going to be right here, right? He's going to be in camera 5. But if you're like, well, I don't want him there, you know what I mean? I only want him there when he's actually active in the night. You can always go over to Springtrap location, right click, edit, and then just put like a bunch of 9s in there. Or really any number besides the ones you input it into camera view. And then he's not going to be there no more. Right? Yup. He's not there no more. Which obviously is what I'm going to do, because Springtrap doesn't have his own location or anything, so it kind of looks out of place if I have him there when he's not active, so I'm just going to get rid of him. And of course, like with Bonnie, we gotta do the same thing for our every R random 100 to 125, or basically just our countdown AI. So just drag over your knife verification is greater or equal than 3 on every R random 100 to 125, because this means that he can't move no matter what. Um, he can only move on night 3 or above. That's pretty much what it means. And this is the easiest example. I don't know why I didn't do this first instead of Bonnie, because Bonnie, there's a lot more with Bonnie. There's AI levels because of the custom night tutorial, so it's a lot more here. But basically, you would have to apply to everything, like I said before. So even on the starter frames, even in the all this and all the custom night AI stuff, you have to apply it there too. You have to just apply it to a lot of things. And it goes outside of just animatronic AI too. You can do the same thing with like maybe like certain mechanics like power, like for example, we got the camera animation trigger. Or no, every R random 10,000 to 15,000. That's 1,500,000. I don't know. But you could do it like this, where basically power drains automatically, but you can make it so it's like insert night verification, compare the constant value. When it's set to 1, which means it's on night 1, then it drains extremely slowly. So this could be like 20,000 to 2,500,000, you know what I mean? And then you have like you can copy and paste this, and then you can change this other number to 2 now, and then change the every R random to now like 17,000 to 20,000 then. So you can make power go down a little bit faster automatically. And you can do that for like night 3 and above. Set that to like greater or equal than 3, and then no matter what, it'll automatically take like 1,500 or something. So you could really do a lot with this. It's not only applied to just like one thing. You could really apply this to everything. Every mechanic. You can make it so that you can only access the cameras on like night 2 if you wanted to. It's not that difficult to do, and I believe if I've done everything correctly, that should really be it for the tutorial, which I know is a little anticlimactic because the whole multiple night system really doesn't apply here. But if you really think about it, it doesn't really need to, because we already have a loading screen that loads us into the night that we want to. It already shows what night we're on, and if you go into the gameplay, it already shows what night you're on as well. So it works really well. And even when you go to 6 a.m., it'll just add 1 anyway. It'll add 1, which means that if you go back, so for example, I go to 6 a.m. Oh, there we go, 6 a.m. And then I go back to, my menu. I go back into it, and then I go to night 2, and then I go into the office. It'll say night 2. So the multiple night system works in this case. It does work correctly. So that's about it for the tutorial. That's all I really need to teach. That's all I really need to tell you. If you are happy with this, then you can just migrate over to your copy instead. So you could just rename it to just, Five Nights at Freddy's. You can name your MFA to just Five Nights at Freddy's instead of Five Nights at Freddy's copy, if you're really happy with that. But that doesn't mean that you are going to have to replace the other one. So if you're happy with this, where it's all organized, it's all much better, then you could do that, or you could just go to the classic Five Nights at Freddy's, where you have all your stuff just kind of here. It's all organized. It will take more space, and if you ask me personally, I would say this version is a lot better, where all your gameplay is stored into one night, as although it's more chaotic because you have everything in it, and to make it seem like there's multiple animatronics there, or to make certain stuff activate at certain nights, it can get a little hectic, but it works in a lot of cases because it's shorter, it makes your game smaller, and overall it looks better, especially if you have like OCD and you have like all like your stuff, which actually I think OCD would be way worse if you had it like this, but you get what I mean. I think this is way better, and I suggest that you guys do this as well, because it's just better in my opinion. It's better than having the unorganized mess that we had in the original INI. Now I do want to also say that this isn't like a replacement for the INI tutorial, or that multiple night tutorial. This is just an improved version of the multiple night tutorial. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video and you want to see more, like, subscribe, do all that fun jazz, and I will see you guys in the next episode.